This program contains true stories of rescues. All of the 911 calls you will hear are real. Whenever possible, the actual people involved have helped us reconstruct the events as they happened.
In June of 1992, Rosemary Aird Bradley and her family moved from the East Coast to a home in the suburbs of Englewood, Colorado. They were looking forward to a new beginning. But just 3 days after their arrival, all their dreams seemed to come to an abrupt end.
Come on. There we go. Let's do it.
Stephen's 2.5, and he's just a very outgoing, active child. His biggest asset and his biggest drawback is that he never thinks to ask whether or not he can do things. He's just very independent and thinks he can do anything by himself.
Okay, guys.
The children's grandmother, Estelle Bradley, was there to help with the move.
Rosemary and Stephen and David were downstairs in the basement, and I was at the staircase masking around the railings because we were going to be painting them.
You guys are doing a great job. Keep it up.
The boys were running up and down the stairs to the second floor with the toys that belonged in their bedroom.
David, where's Stephen? I guess I can take some stuff up. Where'd you leave him at? Is he in his room? Kristen, have you seen Stephen? No.
My first reaction whenever he's been out of sight is to check the pool. And I went to the glass doors and I looked and said, okay, he's not in the pool. I wasn't particularly concerned, but I said, okay, everybody look for Stephen.
Stephen? 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 Stephen, are you in here? Stephen?
8.5-year-old Kristen found her little brother.
I just happened to look out the door. I picked him up and I looked at him and I said his name because he didn't look like he was alive. His lips were blue, his eyes were purple, and it was really scary.
Oh, Stephen!
When she yelled, knowing that she was out at the pool, I just thought, oh my God.
At 11:34 a.m., the call for help came in to South Metro Communications dispatcher Doug Terry.
Fire paramedics.
Hello. We have a child. He's 2.5, and he split his head open. He fell in the pool, and we need help.
Okay. Is the child still in the pool?
No, he's not in the pool. He's out of the pool.
Where is the child right now?
He's with his mother, who is a nurse.
The initial call came in as child with a head injury.
Split above his eye.
Okay. Is the child conscious right now?
Just a minute, please. Rosemary, is he conscious? No, he's dead. Oh, my goodness.
What's the matter, ma'am?
He thinks he's dead.
Is the child breathing?
Is he breathing? Rosemary, is he breathing? No, he's not breathing.
Okay.
All of a sudden, when I find out that the child's not breathing, unconscious, they think he's dead.
how to do CPR.
Do you know how to do CPR? I forgot. She forgets. She's so upset.
Okay, how old is the child again? Okay, I'll tell you what. If you can relay the instructions, I'm going to walk you through it. Okay?
Yes.
Okay, what I need you to do is place the child on its back on a table or floor and strip the chest. Take off the shirt or whatever's there. Okay? We need you to place one hand on the forehead.
One hand on the forehead.
The other hand under the neck.
One hand under the neck.
You want to push down on the forehead and lift slightly on the neck so the chin points up.
So the chin points up.
Okay, with the hand that was on the forehead, you want to pinch the nose closed.
Pinch the nose closed with the hand on the forehead.
One of the reasons we follow the protocol cards that we do is it's step by step and it's exact. Because if you aren't following things to the letter, you can do a lot more damage to the person than actually helping them.
He's not breathing at all.
When we continue,
I felt desperate, but more than anything, I was just thinking to myself, you can't fall apart. You just have to concentrate on what you're doing.
when 2-year-old Stephen Bradley was pulled from the family's backyard swimming pool, he was blue and not breathing. Using instructions given to the child's grandmother by a 911 dispatcher, his mother was performing rescue breathing, but her little boy still showed no signs of life.
Okay, we're going to go into compressions now.
Yes.
Okay. What I need you to do is place the heel of one hand in the...
Place the heel of one hand.
In the middle of the chest, between the nipples.
Between the nipples.
And push down with your hand.
Push down with your hand.
1 to 1.5 inches. Just like you're pumping the child's chest. Okay, then one breath of air. Then 5 times. Keep you...
5 times.
Okay, and keep doing that repetition until help gets there.
Repetition.
I felt desperate. I felt scared. But more than anything, I was just thinking to myself, you can't fall apart. You just have to concentrate on what you're doing.
Well, they'll be here soon.
They're on the way, okay? Where are you in the house?
We're outside.
Outside in back?
Outside is the back, yes.
I was crying so hard, no tears came out, but then Mommy said go outside and wait for the ambulance, so I did.
You're doing a good job there.
I didn't know what was happening because it was so scary.
Arapahoe County Sheriff's Deputy Teresa Keenan got there within 4 minutes of the call.
When I arrived at the house, I knew immediately that I was the first responder on the scene, and I was going to have to perform whatever needed to be done. So I felt a heavy weight on my shoulders.
They clear here.
They're pulling up?
Yes.
I'm going to let you go, ma'am. You did a fantastic job. You did everything you could, okay?
Thank you.
Have you cleared his mouth?
I began a resuscitation on him immediately.
Okay.
Then I felt for a pulse,
No pulse.
and I could feel no pulse on him.
Come on, baby.
I thought he can't be dead. He has to live.
Okay, go.
And I was feeling really guilty. You know, how could I let something like this happen?
Within a few more minutes, advanced life support units arrived, led by paramedic Bob Smith.
With the information we had, everybody pretty much was thinking the same thing. We're going to cut and run with this.
We're ready to go outside, guys.
Let's go.
His heart was not working. He wasn't breathing on his own. So the quicker I could get in the ambulance and we can intubate him and start medications if we need it, then the quicker his heart's going to start again.
Hey, we got a normal sinus. Got a pulse? Check for a pulse, will you? I got a pulse. You got a pulse?
We knew because his heart rate came back that we were getting the oxygen into him that he needed.
All right. That's good. That's good.
All I can do now is hope and pray for the best outcome.
Stephen was admitted to Littleton Hospital, where he was examined by emergency physician John Riccio.
Anytime we hear about a child coming in whose heart is stopped, we all initially have a very emotional moment where we kind of are a little bit scared and a little bit angry, and we all say to ourselves, how can this be happening?
That sounds really bad on both sides. Let's go ahead and visualize his cord, please.
When he got to us, he was not breathing on his own at all, and his lungs sounded horrible. He had been in the water for several minutes without oxygen, and he was just in serious condition at that point.
Let's mix up like 200 milligrams drip dial and get it into him.
He started to seize. If we were able to control those seizures, Directly following that, however, Stephen started to posture, which is even a worse sign of brain injury. And we were concerned that if he did survive, that he would have severe brain damage.
Let's go ahead and just give him repeated treatments.
At that point, I thought, okay, he's alive. But then when I saw him in the emergency room, all hooked up to everything, it was more devastating than hopeful.
Two-year-old Stephen was transported by airlife helicopter to Porter Memorial Hospital in a coma. His mother and father stayed by his side for 4 days.
I just held him in my arms, and finally he woke up. His speech was very slurred, and he was so weak that he couldn't even sit up on his own. Monday morning, when the doctors came back in to see him, the kid was running down the hall. They said, "This kid's a miracle," and he is.
He certainly bounced back faster than anyone thought he would. But I don't think any of us were really surprised, because he's a very strong little boy. We're very, very thankful for that.
I think we were always pretty careful about watching our kids, but it's made me realize that all it takes is a minute to have an accident. If you're moving, it's a very disorienting time, and you got to be especially careful because your kids don't have a routine, and you don't know what kind of trouble that they can get into. We should have had a fence put in before we moved into the house, but we've got a big fence now and a padlock and another lock. And I still worry.
Okay, you don't yell at them.
Although 2-year-old Stephen escaped without injury, his parents have been changed by the incident.
You find yourself realizing how precious life is and how quickly that can be snatched away. They look pretty, don't they? So you do your best to appreciate everything that life has to give you. You might have little flaws, you know.
It makes you realize that our kids are our priority in our life, and that we're very, very, very fortunate to have them. And it sort of made me more of a humble person, just being given a second chance and having Stephen back and having him back 100%.
Oh, starting to wake up.